Captain Samuel Chen looked out the small window of the transport ship. The planet Siloria filled his view, a glittering blue-green world covered in crystal formations that sparkled even from space. Sam sighed and straightened his uniform. He had not wanted this assignment. "Captain, we begin landing procedures in 5 minutes," the pilot called back to him. Sam nodded. "Thank you." 3 weeks ago, he had been handling simple trade agreements between Earth and the smaller alien races. Now he was being sent as humanity's representative to the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The timing couldn't be worse. The Silurian Empress was holding her grand selection, a huge event where she would review potential mates from across the stars. "Just what I need," Sam muttered. "To be stuck in the middle of space dating politics." The ship landed with a gentle bump on a crystal platform. When Sam stepped out, the air felt strangely thick yet easy to breathe. 3 tall Silurians waited for him. Their skin shimmered like opals, and their eyes shifted colors in the light. "Captain Chen of Earth," the tallest one said. "I am Callow, 3rd assistant to the Royal Welcoming Committee. Your quarters are this way." Sam noticed immediately that Callow was very low-ranked. Earth was clearly not important to the Silurians. The room they gave him was small and far from the palace center. Through his window, Sam could see the grand quarters given to representatives from other worlds. Some had entire crystal towers to themselves. "The welcome reception begins in 2 hours, Callow said. "Do not be late." Left alone, Sam reviewed his notes. The Empress Thelia had rejected 317 suitors from 89 different species over 10 years. Rumors said she thought humans were charmingly primitive, but ultimately inconsequential. "Great," Sam said to himself. "They see us as space cavemen." 2 hours later, Sam entered the enormous crystal hall filled with hundreds of aliens. Some had tentacles, others had multiple heads, and many wore incredibly expensive clothes and jewels. Sam's simple blue uniform made him stick out like a sore thumb. He took a drink from a passing server and turned, only to bump into a tall Silurian, spilling the purple liquid across the alien's shimmering robes. The room went silent. "I'm so sorry," Sam said quickly, reaching for a napkin. "I didn't see you there." He tried to clean the spill, making it worse. Only then did he notice everyone in the room was bowing. The Silurian he had spilled his drink on wore a delicate crystal crown. This was Empress Thelia herself. "Your Majesty, I apologize," Sam said, his face burning with embarrassment. "This was my mistake. I'll pay for any damages." Instead of anger, he saw curiosity in her color-shifting eyes. "You would pay me?" she asked. "With what? Earth currency is worthless here." Sam straightened his back. "Then I'll work it off. On Earth, when we make mistakes, we fix them ourselves." A ripple of shocked whispers spread through the crowd. No one spoke to the Empress this way. To everyone's surprise, Empress Thelia's lips curved into a slight smile. "Interesting," she said. "Most would offer empty compliments or blame the server. Captain Chen, isn't it?" "Yes, Your Majesty." "Come to my private audience chamber tomorrow morning," she said, loud enough for others to hear. "We will discuss how you might work off this debt." She walked away, leaving Sam frozen in place as hundreds of jealous eyes turned toward him. Later that night, as Sam tried to understand what had happened, a message arrived. "The Empress has not granted a private audience to any new ambassador in 12 years. Whatever you do tomorrow, human, will affect your entire species." Sam barely slept that night. Sam walked through the towering crystal doors of the Empress's audience chamber. His heart beat fast in his chest. He had expected to meet Empress Thelia alone, but the entire High Council stood there too. 12 tall Silurians with stern faces. The Empress sat on a throne that seemed to grow right out of the crystal floor. Her skin shimmered between blue and purple, and her eyes changed from silver to violet as she watched Sam approach. "Captain Chen of Earth," she said, "do you know why you are here?" Sam bowed. "To make up for spilling a drink on Your Majesty, I assume. A few council members frowned at his direct answer. Partially, Empress Thalia said, but also because it is time for the 3 challenges to begin. All potential suitors must complete these tests: wisdom, courage, and character, before formal courtship can begin. Sam's eyes widened. Suitors, Your Majesty, I think there's been a mistake. I'm not here to court you. I'm just an ambassador from Earth. Gasps echoed around the room. No one refused the Empress. But Thalia didn't look angry. She looked interested. Then participate as Earth's champion, she said. Should you succeed, your planet will gain favor regardless of personal matters. Sam knew he couldn't refuse. It would hurt relations between Earth and Siloria. I accept the challenge, he said finally. The Empress stood. The first test begins now. You must solve the labyrinth of echoes. Guards led Sam to a huge crystal maze behind the palace. Other aliens from different worlds gathered there too, all carrying weapons or special technology. One had a floating robot. Another wore a helmet with blinking lights. Sam had nothing but his uniform. The labyrinth shows each person their deepest fears, a guard explained. Most go mad before finding the center. You may take any weapon or tool you wish. I don't need anything, Sam said, though he felt afraid. The other aliens laughed. The primitive human will fail quickly, one whispered loudly. Sam entered the maze alone. Almost immediately, the crystal walls began to change. He saw his worst fears come to life. Earth destroyed by war, his family in danger, himself lost in space forever. The visions felt so real that he wanted to run or fight. Instead, Sam did something different. When he saw each fear, he stopped, took a deep breath, and said, I see you. I accept that you exist, but you are not real right now. Each time he did this, the frightening images faded away, showing him the true path. 3 hours later, Sam reached the center of the maze. He was the first to complete the challenge. When he walked out, the Empress herself waited at the exit. How did you do it? She asked. Others brought powerful technology. You brought nothing. The maze creates illusions from fear, Sam explained. Fighting them only makes them stronger. I simply accepted each fear as it appeared. Once acknowledged, it had no power over me. Thalia's eyes changed color rapidly, a sign of strong emotion among Silurians. Interesting approach, she said. Most try to overpower their fears or ignore them. An older council member stepped forward. Empress, surely you aren't impressed by this. This human's luck. The Zionian prince has far better qualities and comes from a powerful empire. I will judge the challenges as I see fit, Councillor Vex, she said sharply. As Sam walked back to his quarters, he noticed the other alien contestants watching him with new hostility. He had made enemies today. That night, Sam found a note under his door. Be careful, human. No one has caught the Empress's attention this quickly in centuries. Some will do anything to remove you from the competition. Sam looked out his window at the Crystal City. What had he gotten himself into? Sam returned to his quarters after a long day of studying Silurian customs. He needed to prepare for the second challenge, whatever it might be. But when the door slid open, he froze. Someone had destroyed his room. His clothes were torn, his computer smashed, and his books ripped apart. On the wall, strange symbols were scratched, a threat in Silurian script. Sam called security immediately. Commander Vex arrived, the same council member who had dismissed him after the first challenge. How unfortunate, Vex said, barely looking at the damage. Probably just some cleaning drones malfunctioning. This wasn't a malfunction, Sam insisted. Those symbols are a threat. Vex shrugged his shimmering shoulders. We'll look into it. Don't expect much. Humans aren't worth the resources. After Vex left, Sam heard a soft knock. When he opened the door, a smaller Silurian stood there. She looked like Empress Thalia, but younger. I am Lyra, she said quickly. The Empress's sister. May I come in? Once inside, Lyra looked sadly at the damage. I heard what happened. Several powerful delegates have formed an alliance against you. They call it the human problem. Why? Sam asked. I'm just doing what the Empress asked. That's exactly why, Lyra said. My sister has rejected hundreds of suitors, but she's never shown interest in any competitor like she has with you. Sam shook his head. But I'm not trying to court her. That might be why she's interested, Lyra said with a small smile. Then her face grew serious. There's something you should know. Thalia isn't rejecting suitors from arrogance. She has to. What do you mean? The Empress's genetic makeup is unstable. Our scientists predict that having children with genetically incompatible species could kill her. Yet tradition demands she appear to consider all options. Sam thought for a moment. Then why was Earth invited at all? Why not just exclude humans? Lyra hesitated. Recent tests suggest human DNA might actually stabilize certain aspects of Silurian genetics, but the High Council considers your species too undeveloped for serious consideration. Before Sam could ask more questions, an announcement echoed through the palace. All challenge participants report to the Grand Hall immediately. The second challenge had arrived sooner than expected. In the Grand Hall, Empress Thalia explained the test. A neighboring empire threatens war over a trade dispute. Each contestant must propose a solution that prevents conflict. One by one, the alien contestants suggested military displays or complex trade deals. The Zionian prince offered to marry his sister to the neighboring emperor. When Sam's turn came, he suggested something different. Instead of more meetings between leaders, start cultural exchanges between regular citizens, he said. Let artists, teachers, and workers from both empires meet each other. When people form friendships, their leaders find it harder to start wars. The hall fell silent. Such a simple idea, yet no one had suggested it. Empress Thalia's eyes shifted to deep blue, a color Sam hadn't seen before. An interesting approach, Captain Chin, she said, focusing on people rather than power. Later that evening, as Sam walked back to his newly repaired quarters, he heard a sharp whistle through the air. He ducked just as something sharp hit the wall where his head had been moments before. Someone had just tried to kill him. He pulled the object from the wall, a crystal dart coated with something green and sticky. Poison. From the shadows stepped a palace guard. Captain Chin, the Empress sent me to protect you. She feared this might happen after your performance today. The guard helped Sam to the medical center, where doctors treated a small cut on his neck. The dart had grazed him. As Sam lay in the medical bed, he wondered, who wanted him dead? And why was the Empress protecting him? He didn't notice the medical scan collecting samples of his blood, or the doctors sending the results directly to the Imperial Laboratory. Sam was still recovering in the medical center when a royal guard entered his room. Captain Chen, the Empress requests your presence immediately. She said it's urgent. Sam followed the guard through hidden hallways he'd never seen before. They traveled deep beneath the Crystal Palace until they reached a glowing blue door. The Heart Chamber, the guard said. No outsider has entered in 300 years. Inside, Sam found Empress Thalia alone. The room pulsed with soft blue light. Crystal formations grew from the walls and ceiling, almost like a living thing. This place is alive, Sam said with wonder. Yes, Thalia replied. The palace is a living organism. This is its heart. Why show me this? Sam asked. Thalia's face grew serious. Because I need you to understand the truth. She touched a crystal, and it projected images around them. The Silurian Empire is dying. Sam saw charts and diagrams that showed declining birth rates and genetic problems across the empire. Our technological advancement came at a terrible cost, Thalia explained. Radiation from our early crystal power experiments damaged our genetics. Most Silurians can't have children anymore. In 3 generations, we'll be extinct. Sam understood now. So the grand selection isn't just tradition, it's desperation. Yes, we've analyzed thousands of species, looking for compatible DNA, She showed him more images. Humans possess something unique, genetic adaptability unlike anything we've seen. Your kind evolved on a planet with extraordinary challenges, developing resilience on a cellular level. That's why Earth was invited despite being considered primitive, Sam realized. You're not looking for political alliance. You're looking for survival. Thelia nodded. The Council wants me to choose a mate from one of the established powers. They believe our salvation lies in advanced technology. I believe it may lie in something more fundamental, the human ability to adapt. Suddenly, the door burst open. Commander Vex entered with 6 armed guards. Empress, step away from the human, Vex ordered. We found evidence in his quarters. He plans to assassinate you and take control of the Empire for Earth. That's ridiculous, Sam said. I would never. Silence, Vex shouted. We found Earth weapons and plans written in your language. Sam looked at Thalia. It's a setup. Someone planted those things. For a moment, doubt crossed Thalia's face. Then she straightened. Commander Vex, I will examine this evidence myself before. The Council has already voted, Vex interrupted. For your safety, the human will be executed tomorrow morning. The guards surrounded Sam. He didn't resist as they put restraints on his wrists. Fighting would only make things worse. You'll have no trial, Vex told him as they led him away. No communication with Earth. Your planet is too weak to retaliate anyway. Sam was thrown into a crystal cell deep below the palace. The walls glowed with a red light that made his head hurt. He tried to think of a way out, but the cell had no windows, no vents, not even a proper door, just a solid crystal wall that the guards had somehow phased through. Hours passed. Sam wondered if Earth even knew what had happened to him. Would his death cause problems between humans and Silurians? Would anyone care? Then, part of the wall shimmered and a figure stepped through. Lyra, the Empress's sister. We don't have much time, she whispered. The final challenge begins at dawn. If you don't appear, Earth will be permanently excluded from imperial relations. I'm scheduled to be executed at dawn, Sam pointed out. Unless you win, Lyra countered. By law, the winner of all 3 challenges cannot be harmed until the selection concludes. How can I compete from a cell? Lyra smiled and held up a small crystal key. You won't be in this cell much longer, but you must understand. If you do this, you'll be running straight into danger. Sam stood up. I'm already sentenced to death. What do I have to lose? Your planet's future, Lyra said seriously. If you fail, it fails with you. Lyra led Sam through hidden tunnels beneath the Crystal Palace. His prison clothes would make him stand out, so she gave him a hooded cloak. The final challenge takes place at the Void Canyons, she explained. It's the most dangerous test. Many competitors don't return. What exactly are the Void Canyons? Sam asked. Places where reality becomes unstable. Physics works differently there. Space bends. Time flows strangely. Lyra looked worried. The challenge is to retrieve a crystal bloom from the canyon heart. They reached a transport pad just as the first light of dawn appeared. Dozens of competitors were already gathered, preparing to leave for the canyons. I can't go further, Lyra said. Good luck, human. The Empire's future may depend on you now. Sam pulled his hood low and joined the other competitors. No one looked closely at him until they arrived at the canyon edge. Then, as they lined up for the challenge instructions, the Zionian prince spotted him. The human, he shouted. He escaped prison. Guards moved toward Sam, but Empress Thalia, who stood on a platform overseeing the challenge, raised her hand. Captain Chen has arrived for the final challenge, she announced. By ancient law, all qualified competitors must be allowed to participate. Commander Vex stepped forward. Empress, he is a criminal awaiting execution. The law is clear, Thalia said firmly. No harm may come to any competitor until the challenge ends. If he survives, we will deal with the accusations then. Sam could see the anger in Vex's eyes, but the commander couldn't disobey a direct order from the Empress. The competitors lined up at the edge of the void canyons. Below them stretched a strange landscape. Parts of it seemed to flicker in and out of existence. In some areas, rocks floated upward instead of falling. In others, everything moved in slow motion. You must retrieve one crystal bloom from the heart of the canyon, Philia explained. These flowers grow only where reality is thinnest. They are rare and valuable. A guard handed each competitor a small device. This will help you find your way back, he said. Without it, you'll be lost forever. Sam noticed that some competitors had special suits or weapons. Once again, he had nothing but his wits. The signal to begin came, and everyone raced into the canyons. Sam moved carefully, watching how the environment changed around him. When he saw a rock disappear and reappear 3 feet away, he realized the pattern. The shifts weren't random. They followed a rhythm, like music. Sam began to time his movements to this rhythm. While other competitors fought against the changing reality, Sam worked with it. In one section, gravity reversed every few seconds. Instead of fighting it, Sam used the changes to propel himself forward, jumping just as gravity shifted. He passed several competitors who had become stuck in time loops or were fighting strange creatures that phased in and out of reality. 3 hours later, Sam reached the canyon heart. In the center grew crystal blooms, beautiful flowers that seemed to exist in multiple realities at once. As he reached for one, he noticed something strange. 2 blooms had grown together, their stems intertwined, something the Silurians thought impossible. Sam carefully picked the double bloom and began the journey back. The return was even more dangerous. The canyon seemed to fight against those trying to leave with its treasures. When Sam finally emerged at the canyon edge, he was the 3rd competitor to return, but the only one with 2 intertwined blooms. Empress Thelia's eyes widened when she saw what he carried. "Impossible," she whispered. But before Sam could present his prize, Commander Vex stepped forward with 4 guards. "The challenge is complete. Now arrest the human spy," he ordered. "The law states he cannot be harmed until the selection concludes," Philia reminded him. Vex smiled coldly. "The council has decided you are compromised by human influence, Empress. You are declared unfit to rule." He turned to the guards. "Arrest them both." Chaos erupted at the canyon edge. Some guards moved to arrest the Empress and Sam, while others remained loyal to Philia and drew their weapons. "This is treason, Commander Vex," Philia said, her voice calm despite the danger. "It is salvation," Vex replied. 5 council members stand with me. Your obsession with humans has clouded your judgment, Empress." Sam watched as the competitors and audience scattered. The Zionian prince smiled smugly from behind Vex. "Quickly," Philia whispered to Sam. "We must reach the heart chamber. It's our only chance." They ran as loyal guards held back Vex's forces. Philia led Sam through hidden passages in the crystal formations, paths that shifted and closed behind them. "How are you doing that?" Sam asked as a crystal wall sealed the tunnel behind them. "The palace responds to my genetic signature," Philia explained. "It recognizes me as its keeper." They reached the heart chamber, but 3 of Vex's guards were already there. Sam grabbed a crystal rod from the wall and fought them off while Philia sealed the main entrance. "That won't hold them long," she said, moving to the center of the chamber where a large crystal pulsed with blue light. Sam noticed she looked weaker than before. "Are you all right?" "No," Philia admitted. "There's something I haven't told you." She touched a crystal panel, revealing medical data. "After your assassination attempt, the doctors took blood samples while treating you. I ordered tests." Sam's eyes widened as he understood. "You've already started the genetic compatibility procedure." "Yes." The results were beyond promising. Human adaptive genes could save my people, but certain factions would rather maintain power over alien alliances than ensure our survival. Outside, they heard explosions. The palace trembled. "What's happening?" Sam asked. Philia touched another crystal. showing images from around the capital. Fighting had broken out between loyalists and those supporting Vex's coup. "We're running out of time," Philia said. "The palace has ancient defenses that could end this, but no recent ruler has had the genetic stability to activate them." "What do you mean?" "The defenses connect directly to the ruler's mind and body. With our damaged genetics, the connection would kill us." She looked at Sam intently. "But with your human DNA already beginning to stabilize my system." Sam understood. "You want to try it. Together." "It's dangerous," Philia warned. "It might kill us both." More explosions rocked the palace. They were running out of options. "What do we need to do?" Sam asked. Philia led him to two crystal formations shaped like chairs. "We sit. We join hands. The palace does the rest." They sat facing each other. The crystals around them began to glow brighter. "One more thing you should know," Philia said as they joined hands. "Earth received word of the coup. Your leaders face a choice: abandon you and maintain neutrality, or support the rightful Empress." "What did they choose?" Sam asked. "They voted to send ships. Your small fleet is already entering our star system." Philia smiled. "It seems humans are loyal, even when outnumbered." The crystal chairs began to pulse with energy. Sam felt a strange tingling throughout his body. "It's starting," Philia said, her eyes glowing. "Whatever happens, Sam, thank you for showing us that technology isn't always the answer. Sometimes, what we need is simply humanity." The energy surged between them. Sam felt like his mind was expanding, stretching across the entire palace. He could sense every room, every corridor, every person inside. At the same time, he felt Thalia's presence, her thoughts intertwining with his. She was scared but determined. She truly believed humans and Silurians could save each other. Just as Sam began to understand the palace's defense systems, the heart chamber door exploded inward. Commander Vex stood there with a weapon pointed at them. "Stop this now," he shouted. But it was too late. The connection was complete. The entire palace began to glow with blinding light. The palace shook as blinding light filled every room. Commander Vex fired his weapon, but the blast froze in midair, caught in a bubble of slowed time. Sam and Philia remained connected through the crystal chairs. Through their joined minds, Sam could feel the entire palace responding to them. The living crystal structure began to move, walls shifting and floors changing. "What's happening?" Vex shouted as crystal formations grew around his feet, holding him in place. All throughout the palace, the same thing was happening. Crystal walls gently captured the rebels while protecting loyal subjects. No one was hurt, but the coup was effectively ended in minutes. When the light faded, Sam opened his eyes. The heart chamber had transformed, now filled with beautiful crystal formations. Vex and his supporters stood frozen in crystal prisons. "We did it," Sam said, turning to Philia. But something was wrong. The Empress lay slumped in her chair, barely breathing. Her skin, normally shimmering with colors, had turned pale and dull. "Philia." Sam rushed to her side. "What's happening?" "The procedure," she whispered. "The genetic changes. They're happening too fast. My body can't adjust." Palace doctors rushed in, having been summoned by the defense system. They quickly took Philia to the medical center, with Sam following close behind. "Her condition is critical," the head doctor explained. "The human genetic material is compatible, but the process is too aggressive. Her system is shutting down." "Can't your technology fix this?" Sam asked desperately. "We've tried everything," the doctor said. "Our most advanced healing methods aren't working." Sam thought for a moment. Sometimes the most advanced solution wasn't the best one. "Your technology focuses on altering genetics directly, right?" he asked. "Of course," the doctor replied. "It's the most efficient method." "But maybe that's the problem," Sam said. "On Earth, we've learned that sometimes the body needs to adapt naturally. What if instead of forced changes, we try something simpler?" "Like what?" Sam took a deep breath. A direct blood transfusion. From me to her. The doctor looked shocked. That's primitive and dangerous for both of you. But it might work, Sam insisted. My cells already contain the adaptive traits she needs. Let her body incorporate them gradually, the natural way. While the doctors debated, Lyra entered the room. Earth's ships have arrived, she reported. But there are riots in the city. Conservative factions are protesting the human interference in imperial affairs. The empire was falling apart outside, and the Empress was dying inside. Everything depended on a desperate plan. Finally, the head doctor nodded. We have no other options. We'll try it. They prepared the transfusion equipment. As the doctors inserted needles into Sam's arm, Philia briefly regained consciousness. Why would you risk your life for me? She asked weakly. For alliance. For power. For neither, Sam replied. Humans have a history of survival against impossible odds. We've learned it rarely happens alone. Sometimes helping others is the most human thing we can do. As his blood began flowing into her veins, Sam felt dizzy. The doctors had warned him that Silurian biology might have unexpected effects on him too. Will this work? Lyra asked the doctors nervously. We don't know, they admitted. Nothing like this has ever been attempted between different species. Outside the palace, the riots grew worse. News of the Empress's condition had leaked to the public. Some citizens supported the human intervention, while others saw it as contamination of their royal bloodline. As Sam's consciousness began to fade, he could hear the distant sounds of Earth ships landing in the capital. His last thought before darkness took him was simple. No matter what happened now, humans and Silurians were connected forever. The fate of two worlds hung in the balance as both Sam and Philia slipped into deep unconsciousness, their blood mingling in a desperate attempt to save an empire. Sam opened his eyes slowly. Bright light filtered through crystal windows. For a moment, he couldn't remember where he was. Then it all came rushing back. The challenges, the coup, the desperate blood transfusion. He's awake, someone said. Lyra's face appeared above him. You've been unconscious for 3 weeks, Captain Chen. 3 weeks. Sam tried to sit up, but felt too weak. Philia, the Empress, is she? Lyra smiled. See for yourself. She stepped aside. There stood Empress Philia, looking healthier than Sam had ever seen her. Her skin shimmered with vibrant colors, and her eyes were bright. Welcome back, Philia said. You saved my life, and possibly my entire species. Over the next few days, as Sam regained his strength, he learned what had happened. The simple blood transfusion had worked where advanced technology had failed. Philia's body had adapted to the human cells gradually, strengthening her genetic structure. Imperial scientists were amazed. They had already begun developing new treatments based on human genetic patterns, with volunteers from Earth's ships providing samples. Commander Vex and his supporters have been imprisoned, Lyra told Sam during one of her daily visits. The Zeonian prince fled the planet in disgrace. When Sam was finally strong enough to leave the medical center, he found Siluria transformed. Human ships now docked alongside alien vessels from across the galaxy. Earth and Siluria had signed unprecedented cooperation agreements. Your planet provided immediate help when we needed it most, Philia explained as they walked through the palace gardens. In return, we've shared crystal technology that will advance Earth's development by centuries. The grand selection had officially ended, with a ceremony scheduled for the following day. Sam assumed he would be heading home soon after. Will you miss Siluria? Philia asked. Yes, Sam admitted. I've grown attached to this place and its people. The next morning, thousands gathered in the Crystal Plaza for the selection ceremony. Dignitaries from across the galaxy watched as Empress Philia took the central platform. The grand selection has concluded, she announced. As tradition demands, I have chosen a consort. Sam stood with the Earth delegation, preparing to congratulate whatever lucky alien had been selected. I choose Captain Samuel Chen of Earth as my imperial consort, Philia declared. Gasps echoed through the crowd. Sam froze in shock. This is unprecedented, Philia continued. But so is the threat to our survival. Tests confirm that the human-Silurian genetic bond can save our people from extinction. Captain Chen has proven his worth through the challenges and saved my life at risk to his own. Sam was escorted to the platform. Your Majesty, he whispered. I don't know what to say. Say yes, Philia whispered back. Unless you'd rather not. Sam thought for a moment. He hadn't expected this, but the connection he felt with Philia was undeniable, and the opportunity to help an entire civilization. I accept, he said, loud enough for all to hear. With one condition, I remain Earth's ambassador. I'll build a bridge between our worlds. 1 year later, Sam stood on a balcony overlooking the capital city. Earth ships arrive daily now, bringing scientists, artists, and ordinary people eager to experience Silurian culture. In return, Silurians travel to Earth, sharing knowledge and forming friendships. Philia joined him, watching the sunset turn the crystal buildings golden. The first children of the new genetic therapy were born today, she said happily. Healthy and strong. Our scientists say they carry both human adaptability and Silurian knowledge in their very cells. They still underestimate humans, you know, Sam said, nodding toward a group of alien diplomats below. The older empires. They see us as newcomers, barely worth noticing. That's always been humanity's advantage, Philia replied with a smile. You're at your best when no one sees you coming. Sam took her hand, their fingers intertwining like the double crystal bloom he had found. Two different species, growing stronger together. Across the stars, Earth celebrated its new place in the galaxy. And throughout the Empire, a new generation began, children carrying the best of both worlds, the first chapter of a shared future no one could have imagined.